Goodness gracious, what a mess. I hope I don't need all that stuff just to sharpen a knife. Well, folks, you don't. Stand by, I'll be right with you. Well, greetings, folks. Glad to have you with me. Muggy day today. I had to wait for the sun to get out of the way a little bit, cool it off. Anyway, I'll set my phone aside, out of harm's way. I don't think we're going to need that for the time being. Anyway, this day we're talking about how I sharpen my knives. I should actually rephrase that to how I have sharpened my knives. Before me is about possibly half of what I've used over the years. I was calculating it out the other day, and I've been sharpening knives for about 60 years. Yeah, since about when I was 9 or 10 years old. Living out actually in town. My dad's property line was the town limits to the country, beside a gravel pit, farms, all that good stuff. So yeah, we had knives. Long before Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, we had knives, pocket knives usually, cheap ones, most of the time. Anyway, I brought just a few of the things that I've used to sharpen over the years, down to my more recent ones, and I didn't bring all of them. I started out with the double-sided carborundum stone. Was the first quality, I guess you could say, or better quality sharpening device. I started out, of course, with that little 1 inch by a quarter by about 3 inch long cheap carborundum stone that the kid gets probably for a quarter or 50 cents back in those days. Had to use it with oil or water or dry or whatever we had to do. It was good enough. If the knife would cut something, it was good enough. Was it sharp? No. Was it razor sharp? No, it wasn't. It was terrible. When I joined the Army as a technician, we were issued a toolkit with a double-sided carborundum 6 inch by 2 inch by 3/4 or an inch. I made a wooden box for mine, and it's still kicking around here someplace, but hasn't been used for years. And as you know, the carborundum, we use it with light gun oil, rifle oil, and it definitely did deform, because most of the time we were sharpening chisels. Except for when, of course, somebody came along and, can you help me out? My knife is a mess. And often they were. And we did help a lot of guys out. But the carborundum lost favor with me as the years went by. I still had to use it for my work. And then I went to finer stones. In actual fact, one of the stones I preferred the most was actually this guy. Now, I won't be able to see exactly. I guess if I grab my phone, I can see what you see. Okay, it's kind of small there, isn't it? I'll reach a bit further. Now, this is a Norton India stone, double-sided, a double fine coarse or medium coarse, medium fine India stone. And I first used the Indian stone sharpening skates. I used to grind them and then use the 1 inch by a quarter by 4 inch or so to knock off the wire edge, so that the skaters, because they were hockey players, could go on the ice without having to work on their skates to get the wire edge off. So I've always enjoyed India stones. They're hard, definitely. Lubrication, I always used either in military times I'd use rifle oil, and as a sportsman, Smith's oil, use that as well. So I went through that saga. Now, at the same time thereabouts, also I purchased an Arkansas, and I'm going to say this is about a middle Arkansas. I'm not positive. It's not the finest. Good Arkansas stone, and I used it, things like polishing a trigger mechanism, parts on rifles, shotguns. I used it in the Army to do the same thing if the rifle was going to be used in competition shooting, to polish up the hammer and the sear on the Fabrique Nationale FAL, the Canadian version. From there I moved along And interspersed with that, we'll get down to one of these critters. Now, I'm sure most of you have seen them. They're not the greatest, are they? They've got two carbide blades in there. So you hold it and you draw your knife through it, and it shaves off steel. And if you give it too much weight, it will cut right in, and you may undo half an hour's worth of work. Still, I bought it for the kitchen to use on my wife's. She has some rather cheap stainless steel cutlery because, you see, she used to stir the cast iron frying pan when she was doing, we'll say, hamburger gravy, you know, with mushrooms and a gravy and that stuff. She'd stir with a knife. So I didn't let her loose with a good knife because she just terrorized them. But she was a great cook. We appreciated her cooking. I didn't appreciate what she did to knives. So this guy came in there, somewhere along there are one like this one, and I've had a number over the years. They do work, sort of, right? It's again a usable edge on your knife, as long as you're not being too fussy. So anyway, I still have it, and you know, my wife has passed away now, but it's still in the cupboard. But I did get her to use this on occasion, and then for the kitchen also, we ended up with one of these, and oh, it's got a name on it too, I forgot. Firestone. You know, the double discs on this side, that's the coarse side. Single discs on this side. And yeah, and I know I'm not getting really close for you to see well, but anyway, they're ceramics. For the kitchen knives, in a pinch, they'll do, instead of digging out a sharp, you know, some other sharpening device. So I do use it on occasion. Very rare, but if I need it, I will use it. Well, from there, I had to progress further because hunting and fishing requires more than just a basic sharp knife. Now, you probably recognize the box. I'm assuming now, these were the cat's meow for a number of us, and I know I'm going to have trouble because it's been in the heat. So, there. And here we have the Lansky kit. In this case, it's a 5-stone kit, and I had to actually resort to going to one of these to sharpen my Puma with the Puma Master Steel, because I couldn't hold a knife at the proper angle consistently to get a good edge. And so I went to these. Now, they do suffer from a problem, not that one. Come on, get back in there. Okay, this one, I know it's hollow. I can see from here it's hollowed. And so therein is the difficulty with it. I'm going to take care of it today or tomorrow and double check the others. Normally I didn't use the coarser ones, and so these kept my Puma sharp, good angle, because of course the rat tails on them, which are on the lid, the jig that you clamp onto the back of the blade, and yeah, you know, it worked well, and I've got it quite snugged up for storage. But you know, you clamp it on the blade, and then you've got from 17 to 30 degrees angle. And yeah, it's good for what it was designed for, and it brings on an edge that don't have a problem going hunting or fishing. Fishing knife, well, they're too long usually for this thing to work on. But anyway, you start at the coarser and you go to the finer. And let's see, the coarseness starts with a 70 grit, goes to a 120 grit, a 280 grit, that's the one that's so badly worn, a 600 fine stone, and then a 1000 ultra fine stone. And yeah, the 1000 polished the edge good and kept that Puma sharp all these years. And so we'll set it aside over here as well. Okay, now there's these other things all sitting here. Looks like a whole pile, doesn't it? Okay. When I got into woodworking more and more, in actual fact, I took my carpentry apprenticeship, first and second year classes, and passed them. You're sharpening chisels, you're sharpening plane irons, and such, gouges. And I went to a Japanese wet water stone. This one's seen a fair bit, and it has been refaced to bring it back level again. And then I got really extravagant, and I went to the bigger. It's wider, so it fits a plane iron better. And we've got a 1000 on this side and a 4000 grit on this side. And of course, the box holds it well. Oh, and it snuggles right in so it doesn't move. And they do fantastic. But I prefer to use them with the jig for chisels and for planes, and keep it for that, because otherwise any knife with a really fine edge, I find, just doesn't really work the greatest for me. And yeah, this case is deformed a little bit too. It's been hot in the garage, so I've worked with this. Now, in addition, of course, I still had, here's my larger soft Arkansas, and this one, as a matter of fact, it's not fastened in the box like some boxes. They will glue them in, but anyway, and you can see, yes, it's been used. It's got a bit of metal on it. Okay, now they have done me well over the years, but they're definitely time consuming, and they take maintenance. Now the Arkansas, I put them almost in the category with the India stone. Fantastic stones, very specialized. Excuse me, and I need to take a drink here. The temperature out here is probably about 28 or 29 centigrade, and the humidity's right up there. So I brought a drink because you get dehydrated quickly. Okay, so with those, I had to come up with the kit for resurfacing or releveling those Japanese water stones. And here it is. Now I'm going to be using it on that one Lansky stone as well. The others I had done them, but the Lansky kit was away. So at the time it was put away and I hadn't thought of it. So with this thing, and utilizing water for lubricant, you can always follow the instructions, which is not much, and you can keep a good surface on them. And yeah, if you're going to be, working with the water stones, and a lot of people do, you can watch a good number of people on YouTube using Japanese water stones or other stones similar to that, and they turn out really fine blades. I think the thing is that you got to be working with them somewhat with regularity. For me, regularity doesn't seem to fit in too well because I don't need it that often. Now, I got into wood carving quite a number of years ago, off and on, and I went to, okay, you got all these stones and that, and they come out pretty fair. Matter of fact, real good. I went to, yes, a strop. Now this is made out of a piece of about 3/4 inch wood, actually, and what pleased me is the fact that it's actually quite straight grained. 2 pieces of leather on it. The green with, okay, it's black. The black, of course, is metal. The green is the coarser green strop. And I've got the yellow material on the other side, the smoother side. Now I purchased this one at Lee Valley Tools in Winnipeg, and you know what, this will finish off any sharpening job with any of the other stones I've got. I put it to good use. Like I say, I was doing wood carving, and the number 11 X-Acto blade that we all know, that one, people used to say when it got dull, throw it out. Met 2 men that had theirs in use daily, for 3.5 years, the same blade. And their blade was about, oh, I'm going to say almost half the length it was originally, because they stropped it. They never put a stone on it. And so, for that, you know, it was good. Now, along with my wood carving, I was reshaping some of my blades, changed the contours a little bit to make it more like I wanted for a particular project. And I bought a small pocket size diamond hone, double-sided. It's packed, matter of fact, it's down south in my motorhome, stored away with most of my carving tools, because I do most of my carving down in California and Arizona. So I brought out this little guy, and it's a work sharp. I thought I'd left it at home and went and bought a second one down south. So it ends up, I got a second one there, and I got the lubricant that they had with them too, and it's really fine, just about like the honing oil that's in the Lansky kit, which you know, it only takes a few drops, and this is not as fine as water, but close to it. And so this stone, or this sharpener, I've been using this, I'm going to say 2 to 3 years. Matter of fact, you can see I've got some cleaning up to do on it. I appreciate the fact that I just pop it, instruction sheet still inside, and with it like this, sometimes it's a little handier, because you see, I also use it on my, I used it on my hawk. I bought a hawk, which I'll share with you one day, and its edge was deplorable. In actual fact, it was flat. And I didn't stone it. I filed it with a single cut bastard 10-inch file. I'm going to say I put close to 2 hours off and on it to get the shape right. And then I went to the puck. But I also did use this before the puck, after I used the file. Draw filing the edge, like I say, getting it down, and it worked well. Now, there's a couple exceptional demos on how to use this on YouTube, and I know you've seen the two sides, but there's the ceramic rod, and a small one for your other knives, your second one, and the strop. Now, I did hear one fella, he knocked the strop quite badly. He compared it with another strop from a kit he had, and I gotta admit, the other one was a larger strop and it was more supple. This one is very dry. Now, I've put a bit of the yellow compound on it, and that's about it. I use the I've never done a fish hook with the fish hook setting. As you know, you can rotate this thing, and now we are at the course, and it's got slits, grooves, which is different from the other side. Of course, I forgot, got to go back. The side with the black on it, you can see I've touched it up. That's the fine side, and I've used that, and that takes off a wire edge exceptionally well. This is something good to go in your pack. I've also got a combination diamond with stone. It's in my bug out bag, and I remember it's a D4 or DC4. I ordered, mail ordered, I know Diamond, Survival Lily and some others were using it a couple of years ago. And I said, yep, because all I was finding at the time was diamonds that were the ones with the holes. You know, you get the plastic and it's got the holes in the metal. And I didn't really want that. I wanted a full smooth surface like we've got here. So this guy gets a fair bit of use too. The one down south, it has the privilege of having the lubricant with it. I have to use this Smith's oil from in here. Okay, then the last thing that I brought out is also a work sharp. Now there's more than one, and this one I left it opened up. This is in a normal position. I use it. Right now it has got the finest belt on it, and it's well worn. And yeah, I don't throw a belt out, just like I don't throw out a razor knife until it's necessary. the belt there, and then I've got one here, the medium, and of course the coarser one. The medium is pretty worn. Still, as an intermediate belt, between the medium and fine, I think it does quite well. My friend and I each got one, and you know what? You're going to disturb your wife's television set show if you happen to start it up when she's watching TV and you're sitting behind her or whatever, because okay, there's locked on or pulse. Now, like I say, there's a larger one, and this has got the 20-degree on each side, or combined, they're saying 40 degrees right from side to side of the chisel of your chisel edge. That's what I used on this knife that I showed you, the gift I got for Father's Day from my son that I had made, and it returned to the roost, shall we say. Now, it's puts a great edge on it. It takes some time, and I've seen different fellas on YouTube use it, and the same as this one, you know. And so I'm not about to try and teach you how to sharpen a knife, because just Google sharpening with work sharp, or just Google, or on a search, just work sharp, and there's really a good selection of people showing you how to use them. But this one for me is great. I did bring out this messy little thing, I'll call it, because it's, after all, black. And not the best of tools. I bought it for $3 or $4 at a garage sale. So, you know, I don't particularly like that type of point, or with the I call it a zipper sometimes, just a joke. Anyway, it's a Smith & Wesson, and they call it their bullseye, and it comes with a hatchet device. Well, it looks like a hatchet, doesn't it? So we'll call it a hatchet. Now, I have sharpened both of these fairly well by hand. Before I go in, I want to put them through this device and just bring up the edges better. This is going to be one of those in the car kits. You see, every fall I go deer hunting with my son and his children. My grandchildren love going deer hunting with me because I make it interesting and fun for them. And they just love cooking on my hobo stoves, so that makes it an extra bonus. Anyway, and this says it's CH100, and I'm sure that's the steel. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing there, or it could be a model number. But anyway, the knife, okay, CH200, so therefore that would be their model numbers, I'm sure. Anyway, they're going to be sharpened up nice and razor sharp before I quit tonight, hopefully. And I know that it's going to be interesting sharpening such a sweeping blade as that. Especially good when you're breaking through a pelvis. 1 or 2 whacks with that thing and it should be done. And yeah, when you're opening the belly fur, you've pierced it, and you hook it, that thing will come along and open it right up nicely, and saves you having to make a bigger mess. So those I'm going to be working on. But anyway, I brought out a sheet of, I'm recycling a piece of computer paper. Curiosity, because I hadn't tried it sooner. Okay, not good at all, right? Matter of fact, terrible. Now, this one I had used it cutting cash register till receipts. You know how fine the paper is, and it had no problem. So I'm assuming, of course, if I do it right, yeah. In other words, it does it sharp enough. I'm not sure I want to try carving my arm. Okay, now, okay, believe it or not, that little gust of breeze blew it off. So I'm going to see if I can bring it up so you can see there at all. The little spot took it right off, no problem. The other one, it won't do that. No, no. So these are going to get sharpened up a bit more. This one I'm happy as it is for now, and I'm not saying this is going to be my go-to knife for everything bushcraft or anything like that. Not sure about that yet at all. And you hear my neighbor, she's got her little quad hot rod. They have a utility trailer, one that's all enclosed, and they just came back from a camping trip with their big Freightliner motorhome, and so now she's taking it probably to park around the back of their house in their parking spot. She was being very good. Speed limit's 20 here if you want to obey it, and most people don't. So anyway, these are the things that I use. What's the best for you? I don't know. I'm not going to preach at you about buy this, don't buy that. That's not my intent. I intend to enjoy making videos. Hopefully pass on some thoughts that you may not have thought about. And by your comments, also learn. Learning on how to make a video, learning on how to do things differently. Like I'm out here in the shade of the house because with a hat on, the peak shaded my face and I didn't like the way it looked in videos. So anyway, I want to be a help and a blessing to you if I can by giving you suggestions, things that I have done. Everything that I have used, you can use. Everything I have used, you can use successfully with patience. And the patience, of course, most of that is learning the technique that will work for you to get the best edge that you can get. Now, that's the secret of the whole thing to me. You can buy the cheapest knife, as you've seen Jiu-Jitsu 2000 has been checking out the cheapest of different items for outdoors that he can buy, and giving them a test. And some of them have been good, some of them not so good. And it's like when I tested that small E-Tech stove. I found out, don't put the windbreak up against the igniter or on the side of the igniter where the wind, and have the wind blowing it against it tightly, because the heat reflecting from the pot melted it. That's okay. Even with the igniter gone, it still works perfectly. And so on and so forth. And so with that, I'd encourage you to, take a look. And what would work for you? My son has got a Smith set that's got 2 diamond rods and 2 ceramic rods, and they fit in a wooden block. And his wife bought him as a gift for Father's Day a few years ago, and that's what he's using, and that's fine. He's got teens that are learning how to sharpen their knives properly. Works great for the whole family, and that's wonderful. And so you can do as simple as that. You can pick up an inexpensive stone, not even somewhere in between these two sizes, I'm going to say. Double-sided stones. Now this is 8-inch. This is 4-inch, or thereabouts. As you can see, double-sided, so you got a coarser grit and a finer grit, and you'll get close. It'll work for you. If you want a little sharper than that, get a piece of leather, cheap leather, old leather belt that isn't all ruined, but it doesn't fit you anymore. Possibly it was a belt when you were a kid, right? You don't have to have the compound on it to have it work for you. And so if you get an inexpensive stone, and remember, you vary the pressure that you use on it, and make your own strop or whatever. And I've got the strop I use down in Arizona and California. I made it out of a piece of 1/2-inch plywood, bought leather at a flea market, glued it on, and away I went. It works just fine. My knives, I cut, no problem at all shaving away. And so that's going to be the finale of my little presentation today on these sharpening methods that I use, and hopefully they'll be of help to you. Most of all, enjoy what you're doing, and